Angel fans, the Halos have 4 top 100 picks in this year's MLB Draft, and it could really give a major boost to their farm system and provide the Halos with some highly regarded prospects because, they're all in the major leagues right now. So what type of players are available at each of those selections? Let's look at some of the names that were drafted over the last 10 years at each of those spots and see what kind of players the Angels could potentially grab. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150. If your team wins, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John. And Johnny,
yeah,
I got a story for you. Can we have story time with Mike for a moment?
Story time with Mike Frisch, baby.
Yesterday, I went to In-N-Out with the team that I work with in my real life job, and my wife was with us. And we're eating a burger, and somebody is making like eye contact with me from across the restaurant. And so my first assumption is it's somebody that knows me from the church that I lead. And so they start walking over, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want you to know that I watch all the time." So I'm thinking they watch our church service online. So I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." And then he says, "You and your brother and Locked On Angels are the best thing to wake up to every single day." So it was great to meet this Locked On Everydayer yesterday. And it was so cool to have a conversation about Angels baseball. He's been a fan since Wally World, John. He was a Wally Joyner fan. So he's been around a whole long time and has suffered with us. So it was great to meet you yesterday, Chris. So honored to have you a part of our Everydayers community.
That's what a hamburger's all about, right there. Meeting people that you get to see on TV all the time. Hey, This is our third season at Locked On Angels. We're heading into 2024, our third season. Couple show notes. First of all, we're back to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule for new episodes of Locked On Angels with some short form content in between those episodes. And second, don't forget that we've been nominated for the 2024 baseball or best Sports Podcast Awards for Best Baseball Podcast. Now nobody's going to vote because I messed that up. Best Baseball Podcast. And of course, you can find that link in the episode description, whether you're watching or listening. We'd love to have your vote. Help out the Super Halo Bros and be a Super Halo Bro or sis along with us. We'd love your help with that. Hey, on today's show, the Angels have 4 top 100 picks, 8, 45, 76, and 83. Mike, that 76 pick is certainly an interesting one because that's the one they got for Ohtani leaving.
Yeah.
Who's been selected in years past at those picks, and who could the Angels end up with this year? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at who's been chosen at that number in the past, see if it's anybody worthwhile, and take a look at, where the top rankings are for the top 100 prospects out there right now, and see who the experts say the Angels will pick. Mike, with the 8th pick, why don't you start us out with pick number 8?
All right, so here's some names that have been selected with the 8th pick over the last 10 years. So let me take you back to 2014. And with the 8th pick...
That's 10 years ago? Good
I know,
grief.
Crazy, huh? With the 8th pick was pitcher Kyle Freeland, and he is a left-handed starting pitcher, was drafted by the Rockies, made his MLB debut just 3 years later, and has been mediocre at best. 55 and 65 in his career, although his second season he won 17 games with the Rockies. So he started off real hot and then has kind of fizzled out. A 4.39 ERA, all in Colorado. Just one note, Johnny.
Yeah.
Number 7 in 2014 that year, Aaron Nola.
Oh, interesting. That's a good one. Kyle Freeland's one of those guys that I stream in my fantasy league where I pick him up just to eat some innings and then drop him the next day. That's who Kyle Freeland has been for me the last couple of years. But it's not easy to pitch in Colorado either, Mike. So interesting pick there. But yeah, Aaron Nola, number 7. I mean, at that point, it's kind of a crapshoot. You could have
Right.
picked Kyle Freeland, or you could have picked Aaron Nola. 2015 was Carson Fulmer, Mike. He's a relief pitcher drafted by the White Sox. He's bounced around to 4 other teams, including the Angels last season.
Yep.
Pick number 7 in 2015, right before Carson Fulmer, was Andrew Benintendi. And pick number 9 was Ian Happ. So a couple of good names around Carson Fulmer there.
Let me get closer to maybe players that we are more aware of right now. Let's go to 2019. Josh Jung was drafted.
Come on.
And he's a third baseman, obviously drafted by the Rangers. First full year was last season. 23 home runs, 70 RBIs, Johnny, 781 OPS. He was 8 that year. Number 9, Shane Langoliers. Shea Langoliers.
Yeah.
And number 7, Nick Lodelo.
Yeah.
So both of those guys, pretty significant guys, have started off really, really great. Shea specifically was an Angel killer last season when the A's played the Angels, right?
Good catcher as well. But man, can you imagine a Josh Jung type for the Angels with that 8th pick, man? I mean, look, they gave him some years to develop, getting drafted in 2019 and then coming up in 2023. And he really was a big part of why the Rangers won the World Series this past year. Hey, let me tell you about pick number 9 in 2021. That pick belonged to the Angels, and they took Sam Bachman.
Yep.
So that'll give you a little indication of maybe the kind of guy that they could get one pick earlier.
Yeah.
With pick number 8. So what do each of these picks, Mike, these previous drafts, say about the potential of this year's draft for the Halos? Well, let's take a look at some of the names that are rumored to be available at number 8, or I guess I shouldn't say rumored, but more the experts believe that these guys could be taken 8th in the draft. So why don't you start us out with the first one?
Bleacher Report says the Halos should take shortstop Seaver King. He's in Wake Forest, to come out of Wake Forest.
I like a Wake Forest guy.
He had a great slash line last year. 411 batting average, 457 on base, 699 slugging. Jeez. With 11 home runs and 13 steals at a D2 Wingate University last season. Then he proved himself against high-level competition, hitting 424 over 71 plate appearances in the Cape Cod League. Johnny, he's got a 60 hit tool with a 65 speed offensive profile.
Wow.
So both of those things are really good indicators as to what type of player he is. And the defensive tools, according to Bleacher Report, the defensive tools at shortstop are really strong. He's checking all of the boxes to be a first-round pick if his production translates against major conference competition. So Seaver King is somebody that Bleacher Report says the Angels should take with this pick at number 8.
Now, MLB.com has their pick at Connor Griffin for pick number 8. He's got a 50 hit tool, a 60 power tool, a 65 run tool, 65 arm, 60 field, and overall he's 55. Now, the blip there on MLB.com says Griffin has a big league frame at 6'4" and 205 pounds. He possesses 5 tool potential. I like that. His size does add some length to his right-handed stroke, and he has some timing issues he's ironing out at the plate, but he controls the strike zone well and makes regular contact. Griffin has well above average speed, giving him 30-30 upside. That's a good one. His quickness and instincts make him a possible Gold Glover in center field, where he covers plenty of ground with long strides. There you go. And any of these guys feel like an Angels pick, Mike? I do have 2 thoughts of some other names that we've talked about previously, but what do you think about the choices from Bleacher Report and MLB.com?
I'm always intrigued by a good shortstop because they could potentially play third, short, or second base. They can play kind of anywhere in the infield. When you have an outfielder, it can be kind of limited, although with the Gold Glove potential of Connor Griffin, with people already recognizing that, it sounds enticing. But
I'll
think
take a 30-30 center fielder.
Yes, right? If I'm the Angels right now, though, I think I would probably take a Seaver King over a Connor Griffin. Where would you land?
Well, I really do like the profile of Connor Griffin. A couple names that I've mentioned here before. Tommy White, they call him Tommy Tanks. Looks like he was sitting around 7th in the MLB.com top 100. Now, he does play third base, but all indications are he might be more of a first base guy.
Yeah.
But he does have a really strong bat, did play a lot of DH in college. So again, he kind of filled in, and he did have a shoulder injury too. He kind of filled in to make third base happen over there. One I am surprised to see further down the list than it was, just maybe 2 or 3 months ago when we looked at this, is Chase Burns. I've seen him at 16, according to MLB.com.
Yeah.
But he is a Wake Forest guy, and they produce some of the best pitchers. They have a pitching lab, so that will be interesting to see what they get out of him this upcoming college season before the draft begins. And I'd say the same thing about Seaver King, too, coming out of Wake Forest, coming from Wingate University. It'll be interesting to see how he competes with Wake Forest in 2024. So if you haven't gotten into college baseball, this is a really good time to do it, especially when you hear the names that could be tied to the Angels during the draft. Go follow those guys and see, how they perform and what they do and where they end up. So these are 4 guys I'm going to be watching for sure. And I think it's an exciting season of college baseball coming up. Plus, with those potential 4 that we mentioned, be interesting to see who the Angels end up with pick number 8. So we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. We're just getting started here on Locked On Angels. Coming up, they got 3 more picks after number 8. So are there any potential stars to be found there? Well, let's take a look at who was selected at 45, 76, and 83 over the last few years and see if the Angels can come away with a good draft pick at those numbers as well. We'll get into all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL regular season is all wrapped up, and now it's playoff season, but there's still some good time to get in on all the good action. Right, Johnny?
Yes, and I just want to say, the thing about the Rams is, okay, now I got your attention. Continue, Mike. Continue.
Yes, yeah. Our friend Locked On Everydayer Justin Saunders had a really great comment on YouTube, and we mentioned a couple of days ago about the Niners and Rams, and Saunders said, "This is Rams country," and I loved it. And then somebody else said, "Feels like Locked On Niners," just for like 15 seconds for a commercial, bro. But here's what's great about FanDuel right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And this app, FanDuel's app, is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet. You can have same-game parlays. There's a Explore tab where you can find bets. In that new Explore tab, you can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. It's one of the best ways to find popular parlays. And, of course, there's so much more on the app. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That way they know that you came from Locked On Angels, and you can make your first bet there. Bet $5 and you can get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel is the official betting partner of the NFL.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Hey, everydayers, Locked On has launched the very first 24/7 national sports streaming channel. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Head on over there and hit that subscribe button, because they're there for you 24/7 with all the top stories of the day across the sports world. And you'll hear from local experts like Mike and I. You might hear from the national shows as well. So if you're just craving constant sports content, Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7. So again, head on over there on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and be part of the very first national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
All right, John, let's talk about the 45th and 76th pick that the Angels have. Let's start with pick number 76. So in 2014, Johnny, the Marlins had that pick, and they drafted a player named Brian Anderson.
Not the beard
Anderson
guy.
is he's a 252 career batting average with a 740 OPS. He's been a utility guy for them, not super significant, but has filled in nicely for them. Then in 2015, Taylor Clark was drafted. He's currently with the Royals. He's a career bullpen guy. He has a 1.4 career whip with a 5.03 ERA. And then a name that I think a lot of people would probably know in 2016, Jake Fraley was drafted. And he's an outfielder for the Cincinnati Reds. Had a really strong season last year, 15 home runs, 65 RBIs, and a 783 OPS.
Now, the 45th pick actually made it a little bit harder Mike, to find
Yes.
success stories there.
Yes.
None of the names that, we came across didn't really do anything of note, but there was one name that I think everybody is familiar with. In 2021, the Angels selected Kai Busch at the 45th pick. Now, I know that he's traded to the White Sox. We know that Kai's mom was a listener of Locked On Angels.
Yeah, we're bitter about that.
maybe she still listens. Maybe
we believe that she's still here.
Yeah. You just can't say no to the Super Halo Bros. But here's the thing. If the Angels did well enough to pick Kai Busch, who I know he shot up to the top of the minor league system in terms of rankings, but I think that's with good reason. I know that that comparably, if Kai Busch is a top guy in the Angel system, that might mean something else in another system. But just take all that away for a second and just remember how excited we were to have Kai Busch in our system, and also get him up to the majors at some point. I imagine, and I think you and I had conversations about this before he was traded, that we would have seen him sometime in 2024.
I think
whether it was a bullpen role or even a spot start or something like that. Felt like it was time to see what Kai Busch could do for the Angels. And so,
and he's on the White Sox, so I'm sure we might even see him with the Sox on the major league roster this season, because the White Sox are kind of in that rebuilding, not sure who's on the team type of phase.
No, man, they got Chris Flexen on their rotation now, so
there's no room.
Yeah, all done. Hey, MLB.com says the Halos should take right-handed pitcher Ben Hess at 45. Let me read the scouting report from MLB.com. It says he attacks with 3 pitches, has advanced command of a four-seam fastball that sits 94 to 96, can reach 99 with run and carry up in the strike zone. So those fastballs, Mike, that look like they move up on the hitter, like from the pitcher's perspective? That's the kind of fastball that he's got. So
the one that makes you duck, right?
Yeah, because it looks like it's coming towards you, but it's actually just deception in the movement. Listen to this. His mid-80s slider with a 2-plane depth gives him a second plus offering, and he can turn it into a shorter, harder cutter. He has a solid mid-80s changeup with fade. He can employ an average upper 70s curveball to give batters a different look. Listen to this. Built along the line of Lance Lynn at 6'5", 250 pounds.
Big boy.
Hess provides plenty of strikes and posted a 49-8 strikeout to walk ratio in 36 1/3 innings as a sophomore. His strong frame and clean delivery should lend themselves to durability, but he repeatedly has health issues that include a stress fracture in his back in high school. He has the upside of a number 2 starter. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Give me Ben Hess at 45. I'll take it.
Yeah. Let me talk about number 76 for a moment. MLB.com says that the Halos should take left-handed pitcher Boston Baitman at number 76. So they're suggesting 2 pitchers after suggesting a shortstop or maybe an outfielder at number 8. So here's a scouting report on Baitman. He's 6'7", John. 6'7", big old tall left-hander. His makeup could be separators as the spring unfolds, though his current 2-pitch mix is nothing to sneeze at. Again, this is the scouting report from MLB.
I love this.
Nothing to sneeze at. It was written by my dad. He's shown that he can touch 97 with his fastball and was sitting around 92 over the course of the summer during a showcase tour. He has a pretty true 1-7 type of curve with big spin and depth at the plate, and it's already a plus pitch. The development of a third pitch for him is key in an area of growth for Baitman. If he can find a changeup that works, that could really put him among the lists of the best arms in high school right now in the high school class, especially if he carries over the improved strike throwing that he put on display this last summer. So again, that's Boston Baitman, a 6'7" left-handed high school pitcher, Johnny.
Wow. Now, if he's related to Jason Bateman and can bring some sarcasm and humor to the Angels, that's another tick on
desperately needed in Anaheim, right?
Yeah. Also, just realizing if you're watching on the video side, I put 48th pick on our little rundown here. My bad. I should have worn my other glasses because that looked like a 5 to me. So yes, 45th pick, 76th pick. Mike, when it comes to these pitchers like a Boston Bateman coming out of high school, I realize that Perry has drafted for need at the major league level,
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, and I brought this up before, the Angels' lack of development and the systems they have in place, I feel like Perry recognized that and has been relying on the college system to develop the players for the Angels. Does that make sense? So
Yep.
I'm curious. I would love to see the Angels take a high school guy, especially a pitcher like this. But do you trust what they have there in the minor leagues right now?
We're going to find out based upon how he drafts. And that's going to be a great indicator on what he thinks about this minor league system. And I know that they brought in some great major league coaches and they made some pivots in the minor leagues. They did let some guys go that were really well-known guys that we really appreciated, right?
They were pivotal to Chase Silseth, and even Davis Daniel spoke about them on our interview with him too. So guys that influenced guys that are on the cusp are not in the minor league system anymore, like Buddy Carlisle and Dylan Axelrod, that sort of thing. So I'm curious to see, what the minor league system in pitching is going to look like this offseason.
Yeah, Barry Enright did say that one of the things he wants to implement, and it was so basic, but it was so appropriate, is a Slack channel for every pitcher so that you know what they're throwing wherever they're throwing. And so I appreciate that Barry understands that the major league roster needs some help, but this entire organization needs some help. And so, again, I think we're going to get some sense of what Perry believes and how much he believes in his development based upon who he does draft at each of these specific picks right here, the 45th and the 76th picks. We'll get to see how much he believes, whether it's a high school or a college guy.
Look, I think they really need to go in on a high school guy. I know they did last year. It was just one guy.
Yeah.
But when you have an opportunity to develop a good arm, especially like Boston Baitman here, I mean, look, if he's down there at 76, that could be a big win for the Angels.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Jase Medical. You come here for sports, and we can talk about sports. It's kind of an escape from the crazy realities of life. But let's just talk for a minute about some of those crazy realities and how you can prepare for it. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin, and it's happening right in the middle of the cold and flu season. Everybody seems to be getting sick. And here's the good news, though. This doesn't have to be a worry for you when you get yourself a Jase case. A Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, includes UTIs, respiratory and sinus infections, skin infections, and more. Visit jasemedical.com and you can complete your physician's encounter. It's going to be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and then your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost, which is so good right now in this economy. It's never been more easy and more important to be prepared than today. So go to jasemedical.com, use our offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's JASE medical.com.
Mike, are there any familiar names with the 83rd pick in past MLB drafts? Well, let's take a look at a couple here. There's Jack Brannigan in 2022. He is of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's an infielder. Connor Siebold was taken by the Rockies in 2017. He's a starter and a reliever. He's had some minor success, but the most well-known of 83rd picks, Mike, is a little catcher named, Sean Murphy, who was drafted by the A's and traded to the Braves. But man, being drafted in 2016, he came up and gosh, there's just, I know the A's are a rival, but man, think about all the guys that are on other teams. I know Murphy and Olsen are with the Braves, and Chapman was with the Blue Jays. He's a free agent. Just like that team was so good.
Right.
And they hadn't even hit their stride yet. Like Sean Murphy has had some all-star years where he wasn't selected as an all-star, but then became one with the Braves last season as a catcher. And so I feel for A's fans because they had probably one of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah.
If you look around and say, all right, well, Chris Brassett's over here and Olsen's over there. It's just like, that's gotta be so frustrating, man.
Right. I'm glad that we haven't had to play them. I think it was during the season, they tweeted out a starting lineup that could have been the potential starting lineup for the A's. And it was like, wow, Chapman and Olsen and Murphy. And it was sickening to see that they had this really, really good team.
For as frustrated as we are as Angel fans and the slow off season and all of that, at least we have guys that we're excited about watching. And I know A's fans probably have guys that they're excited about too, but like, man, I can't imagine if like we were watching, oh, there's Zach Neto over there and Hoppy over there on that team. Like that would just be the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. So let me talk to you a bit about what MLB.com thinks that the Angels should do with this final pick, the 83rd pick. They think that the Angels should sign or try to draft Dante Nori. Here's the scouting report. Teams that weigh age heavily won't be interested in this guy because he's turning 20 3 months after the draft.
He's so old.
I know, and that's what they put down. They say he's easily the oldest high school player in the MLB Pipeline's rankings, and so this guy's just way too ancient. He's going to be 20 after the draft. You don't want him, right? But here's the thing about Nori being almost 20. He's had a mature approach at the plate, according to MLB.com, controlling the strike zone and looking to make consistent contact to all fields, has a quick, direct left-handed swing and will shorten his strokes with 2 strikes. Angels, pay attention. While he's strong and shows average power during batting practice, he focuses on producing line drives rather than launching balls during games. Nori, he's posted a top-of-the-scale 60-yard dash time, so he's really quick, and a well above average runner who's aggressive on the bases. A Mississippi State commit. He's chasing balls down from gap to gap as a center fielder. They call him a no-doubt center fielder. When it's out there, he gets it. Has a really solid arm. Strength is another asset for him. He's physically maxed out and offers no projection. So that means that they think that he's kind of already done growing, which is an interesting scouting report, I think, on this guy. But they say has plenty of talent, and scouts love his makeup as well. So, Johnny, Dante Nori, he sound intriguing to you?
Well, if we're going all the way down to 83rd, and there's somebody like that down there that we can pick up, one thing, and this kind of applies to everybody here, Mike, not just Dante Nori, but one thing that jumps out to me is, like they say, a mature approach at the plate, controlling the strike zone, making contact to all fields. That's a baseball player, Mike. Yeah. And I know that we've gone athlete heavy in the past, especially the Billy Epler years with
Joe Adell and
Jordan Adams. Like those guys, put them on our 49ers as wide receivers and they'll crush it, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to baseball, it's taken them some time to get good at baseball. Not that they weren't good, but to become baseball players. And I look at what they say about Dante Nori. I look at what they say about the other guys that we looked at the different parts of the draft. And it just makes me think these are all good baseball selections. And so if that's who they're going with at 83rd, I think that's a really wise choice. What about you?
I 100% agree, because this is a guy that if the Angels are going to keep their strategy of letting like these guys develop in college and or maybe late high school, it sounds like Nori could be somebody that would move pretty quick through the rankings.
Yeah, the 20 years old thing doesn't sound like a disadvantage.
No,
when it comes to the Angels, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I wonder, as we think about each of these selections, if I could take it back to that previous conversation, I wonder what the strategy really is. With this being Perry's last year, the unknown about what happens next year, I wonder what the strategy might be. And if it is, like, let's just get some young guys on this team that can move quickly through the minor leagues and get up and be where they need to be sooner rather than later. And perhaps it's also a money saving strategy, because then you bring up these guys and they're suddenly, arbitration eligible in a couple of years. And until then, they're getting the league minimum, and you can have some really high quality baseball players for not too much money. And as you mentioned with Nori, he just sounds like a baseball guy. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. I am intrigued by he's already kind of maxed out and hit his stride at 20. Man, I didn't. And I know that, and I'm not an athlete, and I know you didn't. Like I feel like there's some growth that could still happen. And Mike Trout, when he was that young, looks very different than he does right now.
Yeah.
And there's something about being in a major league environment and getting the right food and the right supplements and getting the right, workouts and being around guys like Barry Enright and Ron Washington, I think that there is a lot of upside for him. And so he's an intriguing player that I think the Angels should consider with that final pick in the top 100.
Yeah, I know there's a big question around, like, is Nolan Schanuel gonna develop some power? Well, at 21 years old, like, you have all the potential in the world to put on some weight, put on some muscle, things like that. And so, I mean, like you said with Trout, like Trout came up, big dude, because he's just a naturally big dude, but like he's obviously put on weight and put on muscle over the last decade of his career. Finally, two things I want to say, Mike, about the 4 top 100 draft picks. First is that the Angels have not signed anybody who has a qualifying offer yet. And we've talked a lot about potentially Blake Snell. We've talked a lot about potentially Cody Bellinger. They both have qualifying offers attached to them. So if they were to be signed by the Angels, they would lose one of these picks here. The other pick, the other thing I'll say is that 76th pick is the one we got for Shohei Ohtani. So there's a lot of pressure on 76. There's a lot of pressure on Boston Baitman can he be a two-way player? Can that work? Is that what they're going to do with pick number 76? It's like, hey,
can't be a unicorn, but can he be a Care Bear, or can he be a
right? Well, and if he's a Bateman, then maybe he's he's a Bluth or from Arrested Development. There you go.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Everydayers, remember that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today, and they are there for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, hit subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. Again, I'm not going to mess this up this time. We're up for Best Baseball Podcast from the Sports Podcast Awards for 2024. So find that link in the description, whether you're watching or listening. It's in the episode description. And we'd love to have your vote because it would really mean a lot to us. Then we could be an award-winning podcast, Mike. People would never hear the end of it. Our families, I'm going to tell Abby every day.
I'm telling my kids.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, what do we have on deck for Friday's show, by the way?
First time in 2024, Fan Mail Friday. So get your questions to us. Reach out to us on social media. You can comment below if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, you can call us on our voicemail line. Leave us a 30-second voicemail, 714-409-6396. Fan Mail Friday tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, that voicemail line is also in the episode description as well. And
I just said tomorrow, I meant Friday.
Yes, I know, out of habit. Friday, we'll be back. Also, we'll leave a comment in the YouTube comment section for today's video, a top comment where you can post your questions for Fan Mail Friday, or just say that your question is for Fan Mail Friday as well. All right, Mike, let's get out of here. Until Friday's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here for Fan Mail Friday.
When that everydayer said hi to me after he walked away, I was insufferable at the table. I was like, did you see that, guys? Did you see it? I was insufferable.